Okay, welcome to another podcast. 3 reasons why you shouldn't do cardio. Before we get into this, I know already I'm losing a lot of you, especially my triathletes and marathoners, but hold on a second. First, I want to tell you I enjoy running, but not to drop body fat. I like how it increases my VO2, gives me better endurance, and it tends to be one of the best dates I can do with my wife because she can talk on and on about whatever's on her mind. I know it sounds crazy to say this, but if your goal is to drop body fat, sustained cardio might not be the best place to start. Yes, you need a strong heart and lungs. But if you're significantly overweight and just starting out, that extra weight's going to wreak havoc on your joints and your heart. So hold off and pump the brakes. If my evaluations when I first start off with a client show any issues with hormones or adrenal issues, then really it comes down to your blood sugar management is going to be off. And I'll get into more detail on this as my podcasts evolve. But let's start off with a little story time. Over the years, I've had the chance to work with 50 plus marathoners and triathletes. And they get into running initially because it tends to melt some weight off, but they're just running at moderate distances. Because they develop some proficiency, they start saying, hey, let me increase my distance. Maybe I sign up for a half marathon. Maybe I sign up for marathons. And to my surprise, initially, I noticed that they weren't just plateauing in their body weight, but sometimes they'd gain a few pounds back while they were increasing the distance. And now I know this sounds like logically it might not be happening, but what's going on? At best, they were staying the same, but they weren't dropping weight as they increased their mileage. So here are the 3 reasons why you shouldn't do sustained cardio. Number 1, appetite. Now, I have a hard enough time managing and getting people to eat right if their appetite isn't a problem. But if your appetite's a problem, and I don't know about you, but when I go for a 45-minute to an hour run alone, I start to see a real spike in my appetite. I get back from a run and I'm looking around like a rabid dog. To make reasonable decisions, it gets very difficult if you get hangry. Now, the fact that some of you might be chuckling, if you get hangry, there's a good chance you should not be doing sustained duration cardio because it's hard to manage your appetite. Number 2, it can actually make you fatter. Now, this is where I talked a little bit about the story about my marathoners all staying the same, or actually a lot of them gaining some weight. And it comes down to one hormone, and that's cortisol. Now, without getting too much into science, think of cortisol as a stress management hormone, but in general, the more cortisol you get, the more fat storing you get. So the greater the stress on the body, usually you're going to get more cortisol dump, and you're going to hold on to some body fat. Guess what? When you run, you're getting a nice spike in your cortisol. The greater the distance, the greater the stress. So manage your cortisol as you're going to manage your fat loss. So if you think your cardio is making you fatter, you got to take a step back and get your hormones in order, eat right, sleep right, and manage your stress. Given the choice whether you should lift or go do sustained cardio, I always recommend you lift because even though you're getting a little bit of a cortisol dump when you lift, you're still getting a GH spike, and that sends off the right cascade of positive hormones to make changes. The third and final reason you probably shouldn't do sustained duration cardio is the amount of time it takes. Most of the people that I work with that are really into triathlon training, marathon training, they're getting hour plus of duration, and that's a huge commitment of time. I don't know about you, but I have a hard enough time getting my 30 to 45 minutes of weight training daily along to put in the cardio to do. Now, if you can manage the time and triathlons and marathons happen to be your sport and your priority isn't dropping weight, then you're probably fine. But if your number one goal into why you're getting fitness is to drop body fat or drop weight, you need to pump the brakes on duration. I prefer most of my clients just starting out, if that's their goal, that they focus on spending that time preparing good quality food and having their meals all set up so that sets them up for success. So in conclusion here, guys, if you're trying to drop body fat, hold off on the sustained cardio. Instead, work on getting your hormones right, cook quality food, maybe do a HIIT workout. High intensity interval training is a great way to create a nice spike in your caloric expenditure, still get your weight training in, because you're going to get that GH spike and get those positive hormones, build some muscle, have a positive effect on your metabolism. If you guys need any more information, check us out at Nomads with a Purpose. Peace.